Let me ask you something about like perception, we talked about this in the open, Howard, before we got you about perception, and I'm going to give you three teams, and only because I think the expectation level is the criteria is all different, right? You look at a team like
Mhm.
SC, where I actually think
Yeah.
they could be pretty good, but for as good as Lincoln Riley's been, he's not getting really the benefit of the doubt in the preseason.
Hmm.
Michigan, a team that is replacing a ton, gonna play a pup at quarterback, is getting the benefit of the doubt in the preseason polls, even
Hmm.
with an inexperienced
Yeah.
head coach. And then Illinois, we know a ton. 18
Hmm.
starters back, Bielema, gap scheme, 3-year DC, 3-year OC, 3-year quarterback. I think we're a little hesitant to give them the benefit of the doubt. Why, when
Hmm.
you look at criteria for perception, do you think we lack consistency? And let's just take those three teams.
Well, I think a lot of it goes into brand, right? I think you look at, if you're talking about Michigan, they've been there. They're a few years removed from winning a national title, and it's a team that's recruited well. And uh, yes, it's a young head coach, but it feels like he's got a good grasp or a great grasp of where he wants his program to go. And I think when you've been a quote unquote team that's had that type of success in recent years, you get that benefit
Mm.
of the doubt. But I would say this: you asked the question earlier about sometimes fan bases are a little gun shy and they don't know if they want to be all in or not. This is where that shows up in the media as well. I mean, sometimes they're like, okay, yep, they look good. They're returning all of this talent, which is fair. That's fine. You've got that type of experience there. But now the question becomes, all right, what are they going to do? How is this going to operate? In between years, are the players going to start feeling like they invented the game? Guys are making more money. How much is that going to become a factor? So I think it's just really human nature that if you haven't had that consistency, and when you talk about Illinois, it's a program that has not had that. It has not been able to have sustained consistency over years.
Mm.
And this is an opportunity for them to start that, building on what they did last year. And that's one of the things that happens. But when you have those teams that have been in the mix, whether it's Penn State, whether it's Michigan, Ohio State, and you talk about SC, you mentioned them. It is one of those situations where like it's been so tough. And then it's like, okay, well, they don't run the ball as well as they need to. You talk about physicality. You may not see that. They're not developing as quickly as you want.
Mm.
Then you say, okay, well, look, they haven't been killing it. Their best players in the state of California have been going everywhere else except for this class now. This class this
Yeah, that's
year is
incredible what he did.
lights
I don't know.
out.
I don't know how it
Yeah.
happened, but fudge.
It's like 31 kids he's got committed, and they're all high end players,
Yeah.
and I'm guessing they're going to make a ton of money as well. But we've got a little salary cap that they've got to work with too. But so what is that perception, right? Defensively, they got so much better last year under Danton Lynn. Can they continue to make that next step? They made some switches. An offensive coordinator, Lincoln Riley, is always going to call it, but they made some switches there. So what is it going to look like? So they've been down, and now people are just saying, nah, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Similar to Nebraska, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. They look talented, but I've picked this team before, and they got me before in the past. So I'm just gonna wait and see how they continue to build each and every week.
All right, Howard. So your conversation just about perception, it's got me thinking. So many times when
Mm-hmm.
we're in this preseason talk, we're in the middle of August, people always bring up the term surprise team. Who's going to be the surprise team?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always in a positive connotation. I'm curious your thoughts on both sides of it. Who would be the surprise team, or what would be the surprise team from maybe one of the Big Ten's front runners that may not perform up to what we think their standard is? And then what is maybe that Indiana from last
Wow.
year, or
Oh,
another team that could
that's a
pop
good
up.
one.
Wow. Well, you know what? I think it's interesting when you talk about what you expect them to do, and I think the team that is in that area that hasn't been before is Penn State. Penn State is expected, and people they're expecting to be in the championship game after what they built. Absolutely, even though what they've lost, but what they have coming back, and I think a lot of that has to do with what Michigan was able to do with a veteran football team, what Ohio State was able to do with a veteran football team. Now you look at Penn State and all the veterans that they were able to have come back into the program, and then the additions that they've been able to go out into the portal. Probably have the best-looking offensive line that we've seen. I was talking to Coach Nardo about it because I didn't see him. He's like, this is the best offensive line I've seen at Penn State in the 19 years we've been following him. So we see how long it's taken for James to really get that offensive line. But the expectation is national championship, and it doesn't look like they're shying away from it at all. Now, when you go the other way, I will tell you, this Indiana team, I mean, I know they got to take a step back. You would expect them to, but this is a good football team. Saw them a couple of days ago. They may be the surprise. They may be the surprise Indiana of Indiana from a year ago. They could be there, but obviously, Illinois is a team that's out there. There's a lot of praise and hype about what Nebraska does, especially Coach Rule in the third year. Will they be able to turn the corner? This is what I do know. You better have a quarterback that can at least get you there. And they do. It's no question who can take them as far as they can go, but he's got to have help too. He's got all the tools to be, that elite quarterback that can lead his team into the playoffs. And that's what you need. So I think it starts there. So I think Nebraska has to be in that conversation. Indiana's going to be in that conversation again. Illinois is going to be there. This Minnesota team is going to be a little tricky too. They're going to be pretty good.
I agree. People are so mad at me, Howard, for hyping up Minnesota.
They're not the 11th best team in the conference. Every time I see that, I
know Coach Collins. I know how they recruit. I know what they recruit. Minnesota is going to be a thorn for somebody that takes a little too long to blink.
Yep. This is the team that you know they're going to be well coached. PJ has done an unbelievable job, at Minnesota, and his coaches do a great job as well. I'll tell you this. I'll go out on this limb, and I'll throw this little curveball at you. Jonah Coleman from Washington.
Yeah, he's the dude.
He might be the best running back in the conference.
And he's got a dynamic quarterback and a good coach in Washington.
Really underrated coach.
No doubt about it. That Jonah Coleman looks so much quicker this year. Seeing some of the clips coming out of practice than he did last year. He's tough to tackle. You mentioned a dynamic quarterback. I think they'll be so much better on defense because they have, Marion Walters, who was at Purdue, is now, their DC. So they've got some athletes out there, no question about that. So that's another one of those teams that could be in the mix as well.
And I think he's a pretty underappreciated coordinator in Brewster in Iowa City. Did a good job with them last year in year one. If I'm anti-Iowa, could I talk you into, man, if they get good quarterback play, they might not know what to do with it in self-destruct. Or is it, I don't know, man. They get good quarterback play. We know they're going to be good up front. I love their offensive line. Yes. Gronowski's a winner. My buddy coached him up at SDSU. Is that a team where you think then when you talk about quarterback play?
Yeah, when you think about that team, right, what's held them back? What's held them back the last couple of years? Or forget that. Even when they went to the championship game, they were able to figure that thing out too, to be able to get there. So, again, you talk about a team that's going to be well coached, will peak at the right times. That's been one of those teams that over the 19 years, I really haven't cared what they look like when we happen to see them on that one day. It really didn't matter because, Coach Ferris is going to have them ready to go. So it'll be interesting. DiNardo and those guys are down there watching them this morning practice. So it'll be real interesting to see just, how far along that team has become, particularly offensively. That's where all the questions have always been, and they're going to continue to be as long as, they don't get the great quarterback play that they need. But they went into the portal, so we'll see how that shakes out.
Howard, have you thought about just how many question marks are still kind of circling around the conference when it comes to just like individual positions and players, because we're still waiting to officially hear Ohio State's quarterback. We're still officially waiting to hear if Oregon's going to go with Dante Moore, and some of these, waiting for just the official confirmation of what a lot of people assume. But it seems like these are bigger deals than what I think a lot of people are making. They're kind of putting some of these younger quarterbacks, younger talented players into big name conversations, and it feels like we need to get past that first step before we can put the crown on them already.
Well, I say this. I wouldn't necessarily say we'd be crowning them, but I think you look at some of the younger quarterbacks that have an opportunity to lead their programs. You look at, whether it's Washington, whether, it's UCLA getting their things done there. I think Oregon, there's so much that surrounds them as far as talented athletes. To me, we were traveling, I guess it was last week, and I was thinking about some of those questions, and you talk about the quarterback. To me, this may be as deep a quarterback year as we've had with, whether it's been 14 or 18, with our Big Ten schools. I mean, if the young guys play to their potential or even half of that, I mean, there's going to be some exciting football played, and I don't think that we really had that. I know you mentioned, Ohio State. I think Ohio State is an interesting one too, because you have some of these young quarterbacks, and you sit there and you say, well, there's really no need for them to necessarily make a decision. And then you think about, Ohio State playing Texas early. That's something they're probably going to hold this thing off
with
to the
two
end.
new coordinators. Yeah,
exactly. Where they're probably going to hold this thing off to the end. To me, the bigger story at Ohio State is what Brian Hartline is able to do as the offensive coordinator.
Couldn't agree more.
To me, because he's been in that spot before. And listen, you all grow. You have to grow into a position and understanding how to call plays and when to call plays. Because the truth is, we all could call them because we do a great job of doing it when we're sitting in front of our television. But the challenge is when you're on that sideline is when to call those right plays. And, it'd be interesting, obviously, to have he's had a couple of years. He had a year under Chip Kelly, continuing to stay with Ryan Day. What he's learned, we know what type of competitor he is, but we still need to see it out on the football field. So that's going to be that to me is the biggest storyline, bigger than who the starting quarterback is, because the starting quarterback at Ohio State, that first year they become the starter, they're not a transfer type guy, it's always been rough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were ready to run C.J. Stroud out the building.
J.T. Barrett couldn't get any love early.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that there's been a starting quarterback that has gotten love early at Ohio State. You might have to go back to Terrell Pryor, to guys that they were just excited about and never said much, never weren't excited about it. But it's always something, and that's part of playing the position in some of these big time programs. Get back to your question, they still have to go out and prove it.
Yep.
All these young quarterbacks, as talented as we believe that they can be and what we think they can add to the offense, they still have to go out and be able to lead the team, not turn the football over, and be able to get their teams into good situations if a bad play is called.
Last one for me, Howard. Let me give you context too. Relative to light competition, right? I get it that Coach Lanning has earned the benefit of the doubt because he wins double-digit games. For Oregon to do what they do, we know how they've recruited. He doesn't have a Gabriel. He doesn't have a Nix, right? You're not relying on the 70,000 starts. Is there something that Lanning for you has to prove in game versus light competition that you think he's either motivated by or the Duck fans want to see? Or is Oregon now officially just become plug and play with Lanning?
Well, we'll have to see, right? Because I think the most important part is you mentioned, two elite quarterbacks that he had in the college game. You could probably make an argument that they're both at some point in time be in the College Football Hall of Fame, just from what they've been able to accomplish.
Good point.
This is a different scenario. This is a young player that has had a lot of hype around him for a long time. Can he deliver? We know what else. We know that they've done a great job recruiting. We know that they've been able to put the right pieces in place it's no question that these guys are motivated. I'm talking about the Oregon team. He does a great job of motivating them and getting them ready to play. So I don't know if it's so much to prove, but I think people just want to know, okay, what do you do without a quarterback? It's just one of those natural questions that comes up. What are you able to adapt? Can you develop a guy? Because you've had a guy that's been sitting there, had an opportunity to learn. Is he ready to take the next step? So, I think that's kind of the situation with Dan Lanning, because I think we all would agree he does a great job of handling his team and putting them in position to win. And the motivation part, he's pretty good at that as well. And obviously recruiting for him has been off the charts.
All right, that's Howard Griffith of the Big Ten Network. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it, and especially the rundown. How many more camps you have got left? What do you got?
So me personally, I have 3 left. I go to Champaign in the morning, get a chance to see those guys, and then I've got Michigan State. Yeah. So I don't get to make it out to the West Coast this year. So hopefully I can get out there and see them during the season at some point.
Well, that's the time you want to be on the West Coast, though, right? Like, you don't want to go now.
I got some questions on Michigan State. I think the fan base didn't understand that they hired a really, really good coach. They scare me a little. They still may be a year away, but I don't doubt John Smith's coaching prowess. That's for sure.
This is going to take some time.
Yeah,
it's going to take some time. Aiden Childs, I think, is the right guy for them at quarterback. He struggled obviously a little bit more later in the season. We talked about some of the interceptions, taking care of the football. But I really do like where they're going. He is an outstanding coach. But I think it's so hard, and I think that's one of the challenges that we all have when we look at our fan base. When you look at what Coach Sinetti was able to do at Indiana, and if you're a program that's trying to build, you now say, okay, well, you can, or you see Colorado, you can go into the portal, you can change your team really quickly. I'll leave you guys with this. I think Barry Odom is an unbelievable coach, and he does a great job of teaching. But you're talking about a program that when Ryan Walters came in, he flipped the roster. He's had to flip it again last year. It didn't work out. Now 81 new. I mean, so it's not always an exact science as well. You still, for most of the programs out there, have to build and try to build that consistency and make sure they're bringing the right people in to do it. And I think one of the things that's happened, we saw Indiana have so much success. Forget about talking about what their schedule looked like. Well, you look at how to bring a team together and making sure you pick the right people to bring into the program and lead the program. I mean, Kirsten, that's the reason they're paying him, $9-10 million now to coach their program. So it'll be fun to see what they're able to do this year as well.
Hopefully we can just stop Googling him like he asked us to last year. I'm good.
There you go.
Appreciate you, big fella.
All right, y'all take care, man. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Thanks, Howard.
Yeah, it's a long week.
Yes, sir.
It's just Monday.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
Thanks, buddy.